Chiagweave! In my previous videos, you'll have learned all about Gimignani, a fascinating fiddler who moved from Italy to Ireland in the 1700s. He's now largely forgotten, but in his time he was considered almost a musical god and the equal of Handel and Corelli. And, as it turns out, our most famous musical expert, except for Hosier, is the Irish harper composer Turlough Carolan, who lived around the same time. For 5 years, 1733 to 1738, Gimignani and Carolan were both on the island of Ireland. Did these two musical icons get to know each other? Let's try to figure it out. Both Gimignani and Carolan's jobs involved playing music for the upper classes. Gimignani had come to Dublin from London, where he'd lived for 14 years. His good friend, the 3rd Earl of Essex, had helped him to get out of jail, literally, and tried to get him jobs. Another Anglo-Irish peer, Charles Moore, the Baron of Tullamore, invited him to perform in Ireland. From what I can gather, in 1738 there was only around 55 families in Ireland with a title from the English crown. It was a tiny network, and I'm sure they all knew each other. And given that Gimignani was a celebrity and knew at least 2 members from that extended network, he definitely had an in. Carolan, on the other hand, was a lower class Catholic, but it turns out that he was quite popular with that set. When I analysed a list of people that Carolan had composed music for, at least 12 of those families he had worked for had a title from the English crown. So, there were only around 55 English titles knocking around the country. They probably all knew each other. Gimignani knew at least one of them, and Carolan knew 12. It's very likely that Carolan and Gimignani were just 1 degree of separation from each other. But is there any evidence? This excerpt is from the 1786 book, Historical Memoirs of the Irish Bards. Walker writes, "It is a fact well ascertained that the fame of Carolan having reached the ears of an eminent music master in Dublin, he put his abilities to a severe test, and the issue of the trial convinced him how well founded everything had been which was advanced in favour of our Irish bard. The method he made use of was as follows. He singled out an excellent piece of music, and highly in the style of the country which gave him birth. Here and there he altered or mutilated the piece, but in such a manner as that no one but a real judge could make a discovery. Carolan bestowed the deepest attention upon the performer while he played it, not knowing, however, that it was intended as a trial of his skill. He declared that it was an admirable piece of music, but, to the astonishment of all present, said very humorously, 'Tá sé ar chosir bacig,' that is, here and there it limps and stumbles. He was prayed to rectify the errors, which he accordingly did. In this state, the piece was sent from Connacht to Dublin, and the Italian no sooner saw the amendments that he pronounced Carolan to be a true musical genius." The antiquarian who wrote this, Joseph Cooper Walker, can be a bit inaccurate on occasion. According to O'Sullivan, who is the king of Carolan research, some of Walker's facts are clearly erroneous, and this is quite a fanciful story. However, it is backed up by the fact that a great family friend of Carolan, Charles O'Connor, wrote that Carolan excited the wonder and obtained the approbation of a great master who never saw him. I mean Gimignani. And I think that this scale is a bit too involved for Walker, no matter how creative he was, to have just pulled out of the sky. So I think that it is highly probable that somehow, through correspondence at least, Gimignani formed a good opinion of Carolan. Funnily, an alternative telling of that story has Gimignani rewrite an Irish melody so that the original melody is concealed and then send it to be performed for Carolan. The story continues in an identical way. Carolan listens, gives the verdict, "Tá sé ar chosir bacig," and sends a corrected version of the music back to Gimignani, who then pronounces Carolan's genius. To me, both scenarios are equally plausible. That Carolan recognised the hidden Gaelic melody, or that he spotted the errors in the performance of an Italian piece. But personally, I actually think it's more likely that Carolan spotted the errors in the Italian piece, for reasons I'll divulge later. Having heard the two quotes from Walker and O'Connor, what do you think? Did Gimignani and Carolan correspond? And do you think it was a hidden Irish tune or a flawed Italian piece? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, this is not where this cute story ends. According to Charles O'Connor, Gimignani never met Carolan. But Charles was born in 1710. He was 40 years younger than Carolan, and he wouldn't have known everything that Carolan got up to. And there are a good few people who think that these two maestros met in person. So follow me on to my next video where I check out all of these accounts and I try to figure out if Francesco did indeed meet Turlough.